everyone, welcome back. So, Scrub Season 10 Episode 6 review, why Dr. Park still isn't working. Alright, so Scrub Season 10 Episode 6 tries really hard to fix one of its biggest problem, Dr. Park, and while the episode has a solid premise and some classic Scrub styles humor, it still doesn't quite get there. On paper, this episode should have been a win. JD been forced to work with his rival. That's classic Scrub setups. You've got conflict, you've got comedy, and you got the perfect opportunity for character growth. This is the kind of dynamic that gave us JD and Dr. Cox one of the best relationship in the original series. But here it just doesn't hit the same. Instead of leaning fully into that comedic tension, this episode shifts into this strange storyline about whether a woman is trying to kill her husband. And sure, it kind of works as a medical mystery, but it feels predictable. You can see the twist coming from a mile away. Of course, she is not actually trying to kill him, and even though there are few funny moments like the mix up with medical cream, it never becomes as engaging as it should have been. The bigger issue, though, is still Dr. Park himself. The episode clearly tries to add depth to his character. Then there's that moment where he talks about being cheated on, which could have been a great way to humanize him. But then it immediately undercuts itself with a joke. And that's been the problem all along. Every time the show gets close to making Park feel like a real person, it pulls back. Because right now, Park doesn't feel layered, he just feels bitter, and that's a huge difference. If the show is trying to position him as the new Dr. Cox, it's missing what made Cox work. Cox wasn't just sarcastic or harsh, he had depth. You could tell his attitude came from somewhere real. He cared about his patient, he secretly rooted for JD, his cynicism had meaning. With Park, we don't have that yet. He feels more like a surface level antagonist, someone who exists just to clash with JD, not someone we understand. And honestly, even the janitor, who was completely ridiculous, had more personality. At least with him, you never knew what insane thing he was going to do next. Park just shows up and complains. Now, to be fair, this episode isn't all bad. There are some genuinely enjoyable moments scattered throughout. The 1940s detective fantastic sequence, that's very scrub, weird, random, and slightly unnecessary, but still fun. And seeing Rowdy again, that's a nice nostalgia touch for long-time fans. But the real highlight here is actually the Amara and Asher storyline. Finally, after weeks of build-up, the show actually moves things forward, and thankfully drops the love triangle drama, which honestly felt forced from the start. What works here is that the relationship feels earned. It comes from a real moment of connection, not just random drama. Yeah, the sudden case is a bit cliche, and the whole patient hiding under the bed thing is completely ridiculous. But somehow it works because at least there's emotional payoff, and I also like the underlying theme of going after what you want. Turk's speech near the end really ties that together and feels like a throwback to classic Scrubs moment. Simple, a little cheesy, but meaningful. So, overall, this episode is good but frustrating. It has all the right pieces, a strong premise, familiar dynamic, emotional themes, but it doesn't fully commit to fixing its big issue. Dr. Park could be a great character, but until the show stops treating him like a one note antagonist and actually gives him depth, he's not just going to work. The good news, the show is clearly trying, and if it keeps building on the stronger elements like Amara and Asher and those classic emotional beats, there's still hope for the rest of the season. That's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.